and then we'll start.
Sounds good.
Okay, right. So, right, let's just check. Okay, so we're live. The first one of this year, I've not done for a while. So we've got Sanna here who did chest 100. And let's just introduce yourself and talk about how you got into running yourself.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, my name's Sanna. I live in Pembrokeshire in Southwest Wales, so very rural. Lots of beautiful coastline to run on. So that's mainly what I train on. Um, I've been running marathons or more. I think it's 12 years this year. So I've been doing it for quite a long time. Did my first ultra in 2015. It was a disaster. Around the Gower, fell over, got so lost. But I obviously loved it because I just keep doing it year on year. Um, I think my pinnacle for the 100 was doing ultras was when I won my first 100 overall in 2018 and got the course record for male and female. And from then on, I just worked harder, tried hard, and realized I had this skill to run really far for a really long time. Not the fastest, just can keep going. And I think I'm well organized. And I think that's a big part of long distance running is staying calm and organized. Everything else in my life might be a bit chaotic and I might be stressful, but while I'm running, I seem to be able to keep it together pretty well. So I think that's definitely something that helps. And I think why I enjoy it, I feel calm when I'm running. All I have to think about is getting mile to mile, checkpoint to checkpoint, start to finish, and not worry about anything else. Just keep eating, drinking, and running.
Yeah. So, did you? So you prefer like? Do you enjoy short distance at all, or you totally just long distance?
Yeah, I did do fan dance this year. It's the first short distance I've done for a while. So that's 14 miles up and over the Brecon Beacon and back. It's like the army training run. And it was kind of fun, but I didn't it hit a lot. It's just about running much faster. You don't get to lose yourself quite the same way as you do on a really long run. It's a different type of training, which I don't necessarily enjoy so much. I think with long distance, it feels more like an adventure. One thing when I did get quite a good road marathon time, I realized to up that it would take so much more. I think you have to teach more yourself about pacing, a lot of repetitive work. Whereas on trails, it never really feels like it's repetitive. And being in Pembrokeshire, there's so many beautiful places to explore. I don't want to keep running the same roads over and over again. I don't feel I can lose myself as easily. Um, I've had a few DNF on things that are loops or road races or road loops. This just seems to be my weakness. So short distance or short loops or repetitive just isn't what I enjoy. And I think the most important thing is doing what you enjoy, not necessarily what's the trend right there and then. And you all got to find our own little thing that we like. It's nothing against road running, it's just not for me.
Yeah, I find that the same. So I did a Blackpool marathon last Sunday, and it was like looped, and it was just like the promenade, and it was nice because you got to see Blackpool itself. But it was just for me, it was more of a mental battle because
Mm.
I found myself like drifting as like if I'm doing something what's more trail. Um, like you said, it feels more of an adventure. It feels more like
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what to expect. You can do the same thing again, but it can be totally different.
Yeah, like with
As
Chester, there was a lot of out and back, and I thought initially they might find that quite difficult, but it wasn't. It was different because it was so much different terrain and lots of bog, and it was quite nice the out and back because I was on my own pretty much most of the time. It was good to see everyone and cheer each other on. So sometimes it's not too bad, but if it's just the same terrain all the time and like a city, I just can't seem to pull myself through like I do on an ultra.
so when you was on the like way back, because with Chester, you kind of go on when you turn off and go onto that canal bit. When you're
Yeah.
coming back and you see people start coming down back there, did that like motivate you because you knew that you was quite far forwards, but you knew people was on the way to catch you up,
Yeah.
if you get what I mean, behind you.
I,
So you was like, I've got to keep going because these people can get to me.
Yeah, it was quite not like obviously we all got to use what we use to get through it. So it's not nothing like on I thought everyone who was doing it was amazing. But
Yeah,
seeing other people and then seeing that it was gaining still even late in the night on the other races, it did keep me motivated. I'm not like when I'm on training runs with friends and stuff, I'm not that competitive, but there's something in a race that makes me really competitive. And I think that's what keeps me driving. And sometimes it's just like against myself, just against me. But when the good thing with Chester is you could see where you were, and that definitely helped spurred me on. And I mean, I got a bit scared in the night on my own, so seeing the other people for a bit, it was quite reassuring because
yeah,
I don't know Chester at all. There did feel a few dodgy bits on the route.
yeah. It is very like varied the train because you have that first canal bit, what's more like a trailer canal, and then you go up the hill to. I'm really rubbish at
Yeah, I can't
naming
remember.
places. So it's like checkpoint free, and then you come back down, you go through
Yeah,
up that hilly bit, and then it's like a lot of farmland, and then you get
yeah,
to Odsham, and
yeah.
then you turn to the canal, and then you go through like Warrington town centre. What it's
That
really
was
got a bit of everything onto it. You've got like a bit of city centre.
yeah. One minute
You've got
you're in a
you've got
city on
trail.
you're on a city on a canal, next minute in the middle of a field, you just don't know where you're gonna be.
I know it's so thinking, and because I only paced like the last 45 miles. Was there a lot of like animals like cows and stuff? Because first time I did it, there was loads. Second time it wasn't.
No, there was one field, and that was coming back. That was towards the end, like on the last after the I think it was after the checkpoint like 10, there was one field with cows in it, but there wasn't. And I was quite disappointed because when we were driving up through Wales, there was loads of lambs, and I thought I was going to like get to pet a lamb or something on the route, but there was hardly any animals, just ducks and birds mainly on the canal, um, and a few nice dogs. That was a bit motivating, but no, there wasn't many farm animals. I guess because it's been so wet, the farmers haven't put them out in the fields yet because it,
Yeah,
it's it's bogging, isn't it? So
yeah. Because every time I've done Chester 100, it's always been quite sunny, like so it's not really been that muddy. But this year it was like a total different battle. So you could do that race twice and it'd be totally different. How did
yeah.
you struggle with the mud? Because it has been really wet for the last couple of months in the UK.
Yeah, I was a bit unsure what type of trainer to go with because I knew it was quite a bit of road in it. So what I did actually was in the checkpoint where we had our drop bag, I did put like my
Yeah,
proper trail trainers in, and I did decide the first time I went there, I'm just putting trail trainers on. It wasn't worth it. It was so muddy in the bits. I just needed that extra grip. I was holding back a bit because I couldn't grip properly. So once I put them on, my proper grip trainers on, I felt so much happier. And like maybe I should have done it from the off, but I didn't know. But yeah, it was pretty bad. There was the fields when you after you come on the out and back from Pennsylvania Woods, I think it's called, one of those fields. Oh, I just I just thought it was quite cruel
yeah,
go through that. But yeah, you could. A lot of people, I think, struggled a bit with knowing what trainers to wear as well. I think it's just a bit of a battle of that race with the amount of rain that we've had. So
yeah. Because I feel like if it was really dry and sunny, you probably could get away with like even roads if it was
yeah,
that good.
yeah.
But I've always worked trail because it's so varied with the terrain itself. So did you reckon the route at all or anything like that?
No, it's like more or less a 4.5 hour drive from where I live, so I didn't get to recce any of it. I did some canal races a few years ago, but to be fair, this was way better than a much better route than what that was. It was canal, but there was a lot of mixed terrain. There was some hills in it, and you went off the canal as well, so that kept it much more varied. So no, I didn't get to recce, but I could hear people. I think a lot of people live near there that entered and had racked it. So I kind of got a few tips off them off the start line, listening to other people's conversations and partway through the race. So it was okay.
To be fair, GB Ultras events are really well mapped out.
Yeah.
I get lost all the time, and even I managed to pace someone, and we only got lost once, and that was my fault, to be honest. I took them up a massive hill because I just remember at that bit, you went down a path and went up a hill. So when I
Yeah.
saw this hill, I was like, oh, it
Yeah.
must be this hill. No, it wasn't. So I just
Oh,
made her do that extra because, not because we was lost, just because I like pushing people. I knew she could do that extra.
exactly.
But
Yeah, it was, I
yeah,
didn't, I got lost once in a field in the night, which I think is fair enough. That's, you know, I was a bit
yeah,
tired. But it was really well marked. I had the GPX on my watch as well. I just liked, I know a lot of people didn't have it on their watches and did fine, but I just like that. I think that's something that I've had from like Dragon's Back and less well marked races. I just, for that security, I like it there. So that helped a lot. But the GPX route as well was really, really well marked, because sometimes I've had GPX routes and your watch is telling you you're off course like every like couple of miles and you're not. It's just the GPX hasn't been done so well. So that was done really well as well.
I think sometimes as well, it can just be like the area and the signal.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was doing it last year and my watch was like, wouldn't connect to GPS. So, but then it said it was connected to something else, and I was so confused because it was working, but it wasn't connected to GPS. So I don't
Oh,
have a clue what it was connected to. So for the first bit, I just didn't follow the GPS at all.
yeah.
Someone called Chris, who watches this YouTube channel, every time I went wrong, I don't know how he came out of the bush. Like that scene in The Simpsons where Homer just comes out that bush
Yeah.
and was like, Andrew, you're going the wrong way. And then I was like, why do you always know when I'm going the wrong way? Like, why do you always turn up in this moment in time? What was really good? Because I don't think I would have been able to do it if it
Who's your sat
wasn't,
nav?
yeah. But to be honest, I'm not very good with directions, but I actually know the directions I have learned over the years. So is there any skills what you've learned over the years, what are like any courses you've done, what you feel like has built you up to this moment, like any map reading or orienteering or anything like that?
I'm not the strongest map reader, but I think, well, I was so paranoid about it for Dragon's Back. I worked on it so much. I practiced by drawing out my routes on OS maps, adding them to my watch, and kind of going places locally that I didn't really know. So I wasn't using, I had to use my GPX, and it was just practice. I mean, I spent many of races getting lost and getting so frustrated with myself for not being able to do it better. Like yourself, I am slightly dyslexic, so sometimes I do get a bit confused, especially when I'm tired. But I just I practiced, I got a chorus vertex, which which I found has been so much better. I watched YouTube videos to ensure I've got the right map showing, and just learning that way. I have thought about going on like some, you can do these like orienteering courses and things, but I haven't, when you work full time and you're trying to fit life around, it doesn't always happen. So I've just practiced and it's just been doing that. And I have like some friends that are quite good at map reading, so I've just asked them for little tips and it's just practicing, I think. When I went to France and raced last year, I was like, oh, this is going to be a disaster. But it was fine. It was a well-marked course again. But again, when I was out there a few days before, I was practicing routes on my watch and things like that. So guess practice makes perfect, really. Keeping a cool head as well, not to panic.
Yeah, I've got this thing now where if I feel like I'm lost or I'm maybe not going the right way, it's better just to stand there and wait.
Yeah.
Because if you go 2 miles off the course and you can't find your way back, or you just go 2 miles and have to find your way back to go the other direction.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a lot of energy what you're using just for find where you're going. So
Yeah.
sometimes I just stand there and just think, well, someone else is going to come this way, so I'll just
Yeah.
follow them.
Well, also like another thing which I noticed with what I'm really good at is like don't just look down. We're always looking down. You have to keep glancing up, and you're like, for like GB Ultras, for example, they had markers quite often, and they were following a trail path. So just keep an eye on it. Know your surroundings. It can be a bit harder at night, But obviously in the daytime, just know what route you're on. Most trail racers are on a big national trail. Like if you're on the coast path, you just stick to the acorns. You know, if there's an option, you'll generally have a
Yeah.
finger post to tell you what way. And I know it sounds really simple, but when you're tired or in a race, you'd be surprised in how easy it is just to run past them. But sometimes just going that bit slower, coming up to when there does look like there's an option in the path, can save you time because you're not getting lost, slowing down a little bit is better than wasting time going a mile in the wrong direction and then coming back. That's the way I feel about it. It's just taking that bit of time, having a bit of self-control and knowing your surroundings.
Yeah, it's not just that as well. It's like if you get lost, you get a bit frustrated, and I just feel like when you're tired, you don't need that.
Yeah,
So even just like taking it slower or standing still or something like that, it can just be better because you're not going to get that frustration. You can have a little bit of a rest because you probably need that because you ran
yeah,
80 miles and stuff like that. So like just don't rush stuff really. Like 'cause I
yeah,
feel like when you first start off, you're like, we need to do everything as fast as possible and do, but
yeah.
that's where you mess up because you've not got the time to process stuff and
Hello.
uh,
Andrew, I think we
are
lost
you
a bit of
still there?
connection.
Sorry, the signal dropped. So sorry, I just panicked then completely. I was like,
I didn't know
oh,
whether to
so
keep
sorry about
talking.
that.
It's okay.
But you was sat there like, what?
But
Um,
yeah, so say the whole thing not to panic, like what you were saying, like when signal
yeah,
drops.
it was just don't panic and I'll be back.
Yeah.
Oh, so what so you obviously you had to watch what other technology if any did you have? Obviously you had a map because is that part of Mandra kit?
Not
Oh
for Chester, no, but for their for Brecon Beacon, I know it is. I did that before, and Snowdon, well, Snowdon 50 I did last year, and I'm doing the 100 of theirs this year. You have to have the maps for them, but obviously you have to have your phone. I keep OS Maps. OS Maps is one of my favorite things. I
yeah.
use it like quite often. Like I had to use it today on my run because went a little bit off off path. But I think it's just such a handy tool to check where you are, where the next path is. If you are lost, you can use it to see where you need to get to. Always have the route downloaded for offline on OS Maps because you can still use it when you haven't got signal. And that can be a good way to route back to course if you really have gone that wrong. Um, so yeah, OS Maps, I love it. I know there's other ones out there, but I just feel that one's got some of the best data for trail running. You can see I remember when I did Brecon Beacon 100 in 2022, weather was really, really bad. And we got dropped down to low level route on the Llynns. And so obviously we all had the GPX on our watch, but we just had to follow the lower line. And I was using OS Maps. It was pitch black. There was four of us. We teamed up together, and I was using the GPX map, and I could see like where the river was, or where there's it shows like where there's like the rocks are, like if there's a drop. So that's another thing is important to like kind of learn keys of maps, and because when you need it, it's probably going to be in a situation that isn't the best one. So if you can spend an hour a month learning a bit of it, I think it definitely helps.
So what was your training like? Do you have a training plan for races or do you just have a training plan in general?
have a life plan that just make sure that I keep running. No, I'm not
Yeah.
coached. I don't have a set plan. My basic goal is I kind of line up my races early on in the year, and then I kind of build for that. So this year is my year of 100s. So it's 4 100 milers. I had a few little races to warm up on, and three of them are mountain 100 milers. So my main aim is to do a minimum of 70 miles a week. So 70 to 100 is a general rule, and then to average 10,000 feet per week then, and a minimum of 2 gym sessions a week. So that's kind of my basic.
What kind of exercises do you do in the gym?
It's all strength work. So I take part in like semi-coach classes. So it's like I always try to make sure I go on a Tuesday or Friday, one of them, because it's leg day in our gym on that. So deadlifts and squats. And then I also make sure I do like a shoulder back day as well then, because you don't realize how much you use your back and shoulders. During a long race, like, to have a strong core and shoulders, I've learned has helped me so much with the consistency at the gym over the last 2 years. The niggles that I used to have, touch wood, don't really exist so much. So I can't rate strength trainers. You don't need to be spending, predominantly you want to be running, but having like 2 hours a week on strength training or three when you're up in it, it 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 pays off. I know it's boring and it's not always as fun, but I can't rate it enough.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people do a lot of running, but like strength training and stretching is really important. And sometimes it's better just to maybe every other week, if you can't get the mileage,
Yeah,
do a bit less miles and do them, because even that you want to run and get the miles in, obviously the strength training builds muscles up for more like the endurance of how long you're going to be on your feet, and it stops your hips from like aching. Obviously,
yeah,
you cause a massive perk, because especially if you're doing like mountain marathons like you do, because obviously when you're going up hills, you're leaning a lot forward,
yeah,
so
yeah,
your center of gravity is a lot more forward. So then you start getting like rounded
yeah,
shoulders, and once you get back pain in something like that,
yeah,
it's not the end of the world, but it's going to be a lot for a long time till you finish, and even the
yeah.
days after.
I mean, like obviously I finished Chester at 4 a.m. on Sunday, I think it was. And I booked into the gym for Monday morning, just to get moving. And like I was feeling pretty rubbish Sunday night, which is understandable, I was stiff and
Yeah.
hungry and tired and all that. But I went to the gym and I felt so much better because it just gets the blood flowing in different ways. But yeah, I can't rate the gym enough. And the coach that I use, I've been working with him for years, and sometimes I don't want to do certain things, but he pushes me to do it because like it is what I need to do. And that's important. And sometimes I don't want to lift heavy weights, but you can't grow if you don't don't try. You got to get uncomfortable sometimes. So
Yeah, and I think as well, like when you do something like when I did Leeds to Liverpool, um, I literally couldn't walk like the day after, and I choose like a child, use furniture, and I thought, well, there's no point in getting back in bed. You're gonna have to learn to walk,
yeah,
because so I used the furniture, and then I eventually could walk, and
I
then I
know
could
that.
walk to the pub. So then I got to the pub, and then I learned how to walk, going to the
Yeah,
bar and back. But I got the legs moving, ready to teach again, because I teach fitness classes myself on
yeah,
Monday. So by the time Monday rolls around, um, I was recovered to a point where I could teach fitness classes. I might
yeah,
not be in my top 10, but I was on
yeah.
my way to recovery. Have you got any things to set that for recovery, like recovery drinks, or any rituals or ice
No,
baths, or
I do
just
kind of
something?
have a bit of ritual. I always have my dad roast dinner. We always have that on a Monday after. And I don't know that sounds a bit thing, but I think it definitely helps. All the veg and the potatoes, it just has the right things in it. Drink a lot because I think we all get quite dehydrated. And I live on the coast, and I've only really started doing this recently, but like I go for a paddle after it. Just it doesn't like it just keeps like for your feet, they take a hammer in, don't they? And I mean, Chester, my feet were quite bad because of the difference in terrain and how muddy it was, and then it was dry and then it was wet. So yeah, I go for a paddle, walk my dogs. That's always kind of my little ritual. So roast dinner and a paddle.
I've got a lot of friends who like tour the world doing like pole dancing workshops, like pole fitness workshops. And actually, one of them said like when they're touring the world, going to different countries teaching workshops, that's one thing they do like every day after teaching the workshops because it just helps the muscle.
Yeah,
Um, it's probably a bit more normal for them because they come from Australia because their
yeah,
beaches are a lot more warmer. But
yeah.
I feel like the cold water as well is probably like quite a shock to the system, and probably sometimes a shock to the system is very good for set the recovery into
Yeah.
place.
I think I realized it when I realized that we have a lot of what we call blue tits here in Pembrokeshire. It's the women, well, and men, but it was initially women that went in the water and they just go in the water 5, 10 minutes and come back out. It's kind of like a social thing as much as the cold water as well. But in Dragon, I don't do that. I don't like going in the sea more than my knees. But in Dragon's Back, I couldn't quite understand like it was hard, like those days were hard, but every day you still got up and my feet didn't seem to ache like they do sometimes after like what they do after 100. And our only washing source was the rivers. And even though it was like 30 degrees some days, the rivers were always really, really cold. And I was like, it clicked that it was that was keeping my feet and like my lower legs then um fine. That was good. I stretched every morning. You had to stretch to move each day. And it was a thing of you just ate food. You didn't really care what it was, although that it's all prepped. You just eat what's there, lots of chips and things. So you just keep eating the cold water and sleeping, and that is what can keep you going. I think when we're not just we're like all you have to think about Dragon's Back is getting up, starting each day. That's all you think about is running and moving that day. But when you come to normal life, sometimes you leave it a bit longer before you eat, or you don't take your recovery as things, oh, I'll do it after, and then after never comes because you're too busy, or you sit down on your phone and you're distracted. But a lot of the camps didn't have signal, and you just had to focus on it. So I think sometimes just pausing, eating, and that stretching and the cold water is what we need, and we probably all would recover better if we ate as we did if it was like 5 days of running or 6 days of running, just taking that time to eat properly, not fast food.
And I think sometimes like when you do like something like chest 100 and train all all the time for that, once you finish the race, you're a bit like, oh, I just need to sit down for 5 minutes
Yeah.
because I've done what I've done, but that's probably not the best option because you need to recover. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying do a recovery run, maybe a walk, just a stretch, but something that's very unintense. Like a lot of people ask me, do I have rest days? And I do have rest days, but my rest days are more like rest and recovery. So
Yeah.
like I might just go for a small run or do some stretching, do something that's a bit more fun inclined to like
Yeah.
spice up my training and make my training more interesting. Um,
Yeah.
is there anything about training, any training techniques, what makes your training more fun, would you say? Like, is there
Well,
anything where you say that to like, think, I'll do this day because I really enjoy it. It's not really about the training, it's just more about having the fun to keep it more interesting.
yeah, so I think it's like the runs where I go and explore new trails, or I know not all of it's runnable, so like it's really muddy, or it might be a bit of a scramble. I go on like a little adventure then. So I'm still outdoors and enjoying it. Or sometimes me and my partner go to the gym together. So it's still working out, but it's not so focused. It's just kind of going around just doing like trying different exercises and spending the time together as well. Um, so we do that as well. And like on taper weeks, we go for long walks with the dogs. So it's still moving, but it's more relaxed, might take a picnic and do that type of thing.
Yeah, so what kit do you have? Like, what are your items? Like, obviously, you've collected over the years, and what you
Yeah.
thought, actually, if I had to get something new, I would actually rebuy this item and not try a new item. Is there anything like your running vest or your head torch or
Yeah, so
other stuff like that.
speaking about this to my friend the other day, on about backpacks, and obviously there is lots of options. And I love the Solomon Skin, the 12 litre. It's just they do smaller sizes. I'm quite petite, so I tried a different make when I was getting ready for Dragon's Back, and it just didn't work. So you just stick sometimes what you know. Um, I haven't changed I use Solomon trainers. I have a few different models, but they just work for my feet. I know there's other makes, but I could the heel drops are right, so they're my favorite. Um, with tops and stuff, I'm not so bothered. I think t-shirts and things are fine, but a good shorts of innards. I've just bought some new ones to try, and actually they're really good. They were expensive. They're through dark ones, and I wore them all for Chester, and they were really good. But yeah, my Solomon backpack, I don't think I'd change my backpack now. It just really works. And buffs are the best things ever. I always
Yeah,
have
because
to,
I use them like as like you like when I do a race meet, I take like 4 or 5
yeah,
because you can use them to attach stuff. It's a
yeah,
scarf, it's a hat, it's
it's a hanky.
yeah, yeah. I've used it. A bit of a minging story, and it's not really to do with this. I did a hot sauce in eating competition once, and I came close to winning till I got hiccups. Everyone thought I was going to win. And when we left, I was like to my friend, and people might know her, Cat Descenders. She did. It was before a race across Scotland. The race they did before that was like the big race. I don't
Yeah.
know if it was called Race Great Britain. She won that, and she was like,
Oh,
I started throwing up, and she passed there. Boffin was like, just use it as a napkin. It's minging, but always keep one in your bag because it will come in useful.
yeah. It's to keep
Um,
your head warm.
what head torch do you use?
Um, I use the Phoenix head torch. It's a new one to me, but I found they're really good. They're lightweight. I don't think I even had to. Well, didn't have that much dark in Chester, but it didn't. Well, actually, I still haven't charged it yet, and I've used it every morning since. It's got a good battery, and they're easy to change. Before I remember when I did the Arc, I was running with someone. They had a different make head torch, and they took ages trying to get the battery in and out, but they're really quick and easy to change the batteries, and they're lightweight but bright as well. So yeah, the Fenix, I think it's the HM65, I think it is. I find that's a really good torch. But yeah, head torches I think are worth they can be quite expensive, but they're worth investing in because you want to have the confidence, at night time it can be a
I
bit.
really like I realised this because I'm going back doing Leeds to Liverpool. So I came
Mm.
14th place. I did
Well,
walk through the night because I did just want to finish it and I was a bit
yeah,
scared of falling. I've never really ran so long through the night on my own. So it was a bit
yeah.
intimidating as it is. But when I was doing Chester 100, I had my head torch. And this guy who was miles off, his head torch was helping me better than mine was. And I was like, oh
Mm.
my God, I didn't realise how much a better head torch would be really good for just feeling safer and stuff. So that's actually
Yeah.
my next item. What I'm going to buy is a good head torch. I have been looking at Pretzel. I think it's called X something. So
Okay.
what races have you got coming up?
So my next one is actually in 2 weeks' time. I'm doing UTS 100 miles. So that's a Snowdon one. Starts on the 10th of May at 1 p.m. So quite excited for that. I've not done any of the UTMB races before, so it's got a pretty good lineup. And then the other two are GB Ultras. I do enjoy their races. So I'm doing the Brecon 100 in July. Like I said, I did that in 2022. I would like to beat my time, so I'm hoping for better weather. And then I'm doing their Snowdon 100 as well. So I just love Snowdon Mountains. It's just amazing. So, and then I'm thinking like depending on how if I survive all them, I might do the Cheviot Goat. That would be a race excited for. Um, but yeah, UTS is the next one now. So it's only 4 weeks after Chester, so it's a bit risky racing them a bit that close, but I think I'll be fine. Fingers crossed.
It sounds like you will be fine. I feel like once you get into running ultras, like I really noticed this because I've only been running for like 5 years. Um, But now, like, I can go for a long run. Well, I paced 45 miles, and no, I weren't running, I was walking. But the day after, I was completely fine, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've just got to take it as how your body feels that day,
Yeah, I think
rather
mentally I
than
sometimes find it longer to recover than my body these days. But um I think the excitement of the UTS has kept me okay. But I think once you've also started your racing season, you've got the fitness, so you may as well keep it and utilize it.
so do you do any speed training at all? Or is
No,
it
I'm
just
not. Well, if I'm really angry or had a bad day, that tends to become my speed session.
I feel like
Um,
I'm the same though. I can understand that one. I feel like speed training don't really work for me. I try it. I feel like it's going to injure me. I don't know if anyone else gets this, but if I start going really fast, my body starts feeling really like the joints are not getting on with it.
yeah,
So I
me.
feel like I'd rather just do, is it the Makaton method where you just go like evenly slow and then eventually you'll get faster, like the way you put miles in and go up
Yeah,
hills and stuff. I
I
feel like
know what
that's
you
the
mean.
better method for my body.
Yeah, the only time it's a bit quicker is if I'm a bit on time restraint. Sometimes like my morning run, like it'll be a bit quicker because I have to get back by a certain time. Or if I'm in a group, we have a bit of a laugh where we'll race a little, like a little bit. But I do hillier runs. I don't do like hill repeats. I do my long runs and I do my like on weekends as a general rule. And like one thing like that I think helped my training a lot is I do on a Friday, every other Friday, do like a triple session, where I'll run to the gym, which is like 8 miles. I'll work out in the gym, which is the deadlift day, and then I'll run back 5 miles. So I feel like that's quite it kind of stresses your body in a different way, but doesn't injure it. So I think that helps. And I do my long run on a Saturday, so it's back to back. It's kind of a shock to the system because all of a sudden I'm like lifting a load of weight in the middle of it. So which is kind of like what an ultra is like. You kind of get a shock in the system when you suddenly get hungry or there's a big hill or something. And I think that's helped me a lot since I've done those sessions. I've definitely felt stronger and I've not hit so many walls during the ultras.
So do you have any methods like sometimes I do like a morning run and a night run. You've just said you run to the gym. Do you do a lot of like back-to-back days or do you do two runs in a day? Or
Uh, Both, to be honest with you. Yeah, most of my days are double days. Mondays are my easier day. But yeah, I run morning and after work. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday are my three back-to-back long days. So for example, it's normally like so on a Friday actually at the moment, because it's been higher training, I'd be running in the morning, then my 3 hour session. So it's been like a 17-mile day, then it'll be like 15, 20 miles on Saturday, like normally a hillier run, and then like 15 miles again on Sunday. So it's quite a lot of miles in 3 days. But I think it helps build. But then I have easier on Mondays and Tuesdays then to ease back in then.
to be honest, I feel like breaking the runs up for me makes it more easy to put into my lifestyle because obviously
Yeah.
you can do it like before something. And also I feel like it makes it less lethargic and boring because when you're going for a massive run, sometimes your brain just kind of starts drifting. As if you break it
Yeah.
up, it kind
Yeah.
of like you kind of a bit more preoccupied and stuff.
Yeah.
So
And I also think it's less fatiguing on your body because you're breaking it up, there's normally like 8 to 10 hours between them. You're able to have food. So there is that time to split it. So it's cause so you're still getting your miles in, but you're putting less stress on your body. And hence why you can then do more back days. But yeah, it's lifestyle. A lot of why I guess, like for yourself, why you fit. It's before work, after work. We've got to work. So that's why I do it. But I do think it helps with my training. And I find the early morning runs when you don't really want to do it when it's a 5 a.m. alarm actually helps when race starts. Chester starts at 6 a.m. I was all right getting on the start line at 6 because I'm used to running at that time of day anyway. So I think that it helps for the early morning starts as well.
Yeah, I always found like when I first started doing ultra races, because they all like a lot of them start at
Yeah.
6, I was always like, oh, I'd hate starting at 6. And then after a bit, when I started doing like Manchester Marathon and stuff, and you starting at like 10 and 11. And I was like, oh my God, this is such a waste of a day because you spend all morning getting ready for it,
Yeah.
race it in the hottest temperatures of that day.
Mhm.
And then by the time you finish, you can't really do much more because you have to get yourself sorted, go home,
Yeah.
uh, do your stuff. But with ultra starting at 6, like if you're starting at 6 and you're doing a 50 mile, you can be done for like
Yeah.
2, 3 o'clock,
Yeah, you're back home in
like
time.
on average. And then you can do whatever you want after that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was quite weird finishing Chester at 4 a.m. on Sunday and being home by 9. It was
Yeah.
right, but there's pros and cons for it. I mean, this UTS one starts at 1 p.m., which I find a bit weird. Like I know I'm gonna find that.
Lakelands is like that. And I was like, because I
Yeah,
don't sleep very well, I found it very, well, I woke up that morning thinking at like 7 o'clock and I was like, well, you're not going to go to sleep till tomorrow night. So
yeah,
I was stressed about that itself. I was like, I'm going to be tired by the time I get to the start line.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
doesn't work like that. But in your head, you're like, can we
I
not just
know.
start earlier?
People always like ask how do you stay awake, and no one can prep anyone. I got a few friends doing their first 100 this year, and I'm like, you can't really practice it. You stay awake because you have to stay awake, but you can't practice it. It's not like staying awake, trying to stay awake all night and then go to work. It's completely different. But when you're out there in the race, it's much easier to stay awake than what you think it's going to be.
I think, yeah, because you're doing something, you don't get tired because you're doing something. I think sometimes if you stop in a checkpoint and sit down
Yeah,
and sit there, you're a bit like, oh my God, I am actually tired. So that's
yeah,
why I tend to not stop in checkpoint because I feel like that's time you won't get back. Okay, if you need to do something in a checkpoint, do it, get your
yeah.
food and stuff. And if you feel ill, I've been in a checkpoint last Chester where we had sunstroke for 2 hours. But it was either staying in there for 2 hours that I was going to pull out because I felt sick. And I just
Yeah,
thought, well, I've got 5 hours till I have to be out, so I'm going to sit here.
yeah.
And then
That
eventually I actually felt better. So rather
yeah, it's
than
different.
DNFing, I just thought, I'll just sit here and hopefully eventually. I don't think I really give myself a choice. It was like, you're going to stop here 2 hours and feel ill and go out. Are you going
Yeah.
to feel better and go out? But yeah. So if anyone's got any questions, do you want to pop them in the chat? So what are your biggest tips, would you say, for running ultras or like stuff what you've learned over the years, what you would recommend to other people to do?
Eat before you're hungry and just keep eating. Salt tablets. I don't know why, but I never really wanted to take them. You don't think taking salt is good, like when you first start out, but I definitely think they're a must-have. Even if it's not boiling hot, just take salt tablets as well as electrolytes. But sometimes you can't drink enough to replace the salt, so use salt tablets. Um, Practice your maps on your watch, get it ready, have a practice run at home to make sure the map's in the right setting rather than on the start line and then you realize you got it on the wrong map. um, Rest the week of a run, not necessarily not run, but just try to go to bed a bit earlier because you don't ever sleep well the night before a race. So if you can get a few extra hours in the nights before and enjoy it, smile. You choose to be there and it's a privilege to be able to get on that start line and go on those trails and you'll meet amazing people on the way and enjoy the support because you definitely deserve it and just keep smiling and even if you don't feel like it on the inside, if you do it on the outside, it will definitely help pull you through.
Yeah, I think that's true because I think we build ourselves up to the race and we think, oh my God, if anything goes wrong and we didn't that we're a total failure. But you have to think the race is actually probably like 3% of the whole thing because you've been training so hard for the last 4 months Like the
Yeah.
race is actually just 24 hours of that 4 months. And it took you, but no one's training plan ever goes. And you always like, oh, I should have done a couple of more miles here and a couple of more
Yeah.
miles there. But life does get in the way. And obviously, sometimes it's important to miss training sessions and you shouldn't beat yourself
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
for that. But also, because you missed a training session, you shouldn't be like, well, this week's rubbish, so let's scrap the full week. You just missed one session.
Yeah.
So just accept that you missed it and carry on with your training sessions. But
Yeah.
literally, race is just 1%. And also, we can't predict the weather. We can't predict how muddy it is. We can't predict diversions, gates, how
No.
many start
Cows.
signs. Because, like, these people who organise these races well know where to put a sign in, or a ladder, or a staircase. I
Yeah.
swear they do it on purpose, where they're just like,
Yeah.
oh, they're finishing in a mile. Let's get them go up. Loads of start, like Chester 100, that
Yeah.
field,
That's
and
it.
you're all broken and you're like wobbling,
Yeah.
and then it's into like loads of mud.
Like seriously.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And I feel like with Chester 100, the hardest that I found was that canal section at the end. And it's
Yeah.
only like 2 miles, but
It's double that in your like it feels.
yeah, it's like because also you go up that, but you go further. When you're coming back down it, you're like, I don't know how long this is because we're not doing the full bit, but it could be a good 7 miles, but it could
Yeah.
also be 2 miles.
I couldn't quite like I knew obviously your watch tells you you're getting closer, but it didn't feel like it because it feels like it's ages away. But when you get onto that street that you come down, you're like, oh, you're okay. Yeah, we are headed
Yeah.
headed back now. But it
Yeah, I
looks
was
it,
going to catch her. I was going, do you know where you are now? And she was like, no, no. I was like, but do you know where you are? Because when you come out, there's them shops and that big
yeah.
street. And she was like, no. And I was like, please. And she was like, how far have we got going? I'm like, it's literally around, it's literally you turn this corner and you can see the finish line. But yeah, I think in her head by this point, she was like, I am so far. I'm so far away from, and I'm like, literally, it's just like
And then the lap of the
2 miles,
track.
like not even 2 miles, just like a
Yeah.
little a 2 minute walk at most,
Yeah.
um, sort of thing. So is there anything what you want to add to this? Because I think I've asked you everything what I had in my head. So is there anything you want to add to it or any advice? Anything like that?
No, I think we've covered a lot, haven't we? And I could talk forever, talk 24 hours worth about ultra running. There's always so much to talk about, and we all have our different ways of doing it, and they're all, all right. So wherever it works for you, but do you think it's important to have a plan? Have things planned out, have your check bags and your food, and use the checkpoints, but also be willing to adapt and not to panic when it doesn't, when the plan doesn't always go to plan because in ultras that's normally what happens. So just don't panic, smile, and just just stay calm. I think is the important thing, especially with Chester, because I think there's so much different terrain and it can throw you. But just walk where you have to walk, run where you can, and just keep going.
Yeah, I think when the first time I did it, there were so many cows and stuff. And this is a person who comes from like a small town with not you have cows, but you don't really go through fields of cows.
Okay, yeah,
Oh my God, new phobia unlocked. I was so scared of cows after that because it was just like everywhere. Like
it can
every
be
time I turned a
scary.
corner, and I just had to like slowly walk around these cows because I didn't know how to do it. I was scared of one running at me. And to be honest, that probably wasted a good hour of my time because I just didn't know what to do. As like the second time, I didn't even see a cow. I was like, where's all the cows at? Like, where'd they gone?
Yeah.
Same with this time as well. So whether they realise people run through them fields at that time and they just decide to keep them out them fields and
Yeah.
try to schedule it because we've learnt that that race is on every year, or whether it's just a coincidence that that field doesn't need grazing that time.
Yeah, they do. I know. I probably know a bit too much about farming from one of my old jobs, but they do alternate what fields they put in because the fields couldn't hack having livestock in them every year. They have to be like replenished and stuff. So it could be that. And I just think, no, knowing from in Pembrokeshire, they are later putting the cattle out because of how bad the ground is. They can't put them out in this weather. So
Yeah.
maybe that works for Chester. Just not our toes.
Also, because it's so muddy, like
Mm.
you'll probably just pull up all the dirt in the field won't go for like anything.
Yeah, and they'd
So
injure themselves as well. So yeah, I think they keep them out when it's like that. But
so
yeah.
have you got anything you want to like plug yourself, like your Instagram or any social medias, any charities, what you're raising for, or anything like that? Have you got anything you want to plug yourself?
Well, I love posting my running journey and my dogs on Instagram. So it's Sanna D22. So SANNA D22. I always love sharing my running adventures and sharing others, seeing others as well. So if you follow me, I always like to follow back. I'm not raising money for charity this year. I did last year. Um, but yeah, I post all my races up on there if anybody wants to track. I'm not on Strava this year. I just find it easier to train. My easy runs are easier. When I'm not on Strava, but I do post my races. So if you do want to see how I get on in my races, just look me up on Strava. I don't think there's many Sannas out there there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always happy to answer any questions that anybody thinks of. Obviously we're all different. I just know what works for me, but I'm happy to share that. Um, and so yeah, if anyone's got any questions, like I said, I've been doing it for over 10 years, so I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes and learned from them, so I'm always willing to help and share that.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing with ultra running. It's like you never actually finish learning. Like there's,
Yeah.
but I'm just like only been doing it like 4 years, 3 years. So I'm still like a baby. Like people ask me questions. Like some people think I'm like this like running god because
That's
and
good.
I'm literally like they're like, what plan have you got? And I'm like, well, I haven't really got that much of a plan. I've just got these like little things where I know if this is going to happen, I'm going to do this.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah,
just kind of like just hope everything goes to such a plan and that everything's going to be okay and I'm going to figure it out on the way. But there is like
yeah,
little things you learn over the years to handle situations, how not get you into that situation,
yeah,
um, how to not leave stuff till it gets too late, I guess. So yeah,
yeah.
like you just learn stuff
It's
like
like
that, don't
yeah,
you?
eating like before it's too late, or that you can't, and then you're being sick and things like that. And taking the time to change your socks before your feet hit is much quicker than trying to deal with blisters. It's just little things
Do
like
you know
that. But
what? That is something what when I did Lakelands and I had to do an F last year, this guy was like, I've got a new pair of socks for every 25 miles or every like other checkpoint. Um, oh my God, I'm going to do that every 100 miles from now on because once them socks are wet
yeah,
and you get a blister, it doesn't matter how fatigued you are, you just can't step on that foot and it hurts
yeah,
to the
to
point
change
where I try
it.
push my foot down to try pop the plaster because it's the pressure what hurts me, not the
Yeah,
actual blister. But you can
yeah.
actually still run, so it's just stuff like that, isn't it?
Yeah, just once you get bits in your socks, it feels uncomfortable and rubs and stuff. So if you can change your socks, which might take 3 minutes, it's easier than dealing with the blisters. It does take a bit of time, but I think it's worth it. Um, it's just little things like that which you learn over time. I mean, yeah, like Dragon's Back, so many people didn't finish because of blisters. It's just a bit unlucky, but if you can prevent them, changing your socks. And I use Trench Foot is actually one of my favorite products. It's really good. It's
What's
it's
that?
Trench Foot. It's like if you Google like trench foot balm, it's a guy, he made it. He's got two recipes, a vegan and a normal one, and it's like a balm. It's like a giant chapstick. You just rub it on your feet, and he
Yeah,
got it from when he did the Arc to Attrition, because that's quite a bad one for your feet because of all the different terrain. And he created it himself because his feet kept getting trashed. And I swear by that now. It makes such a difference just using that, and it's easy to put on because it's a balm. You don't have to rub it in like a cream. But yeah, that's one of my must-have products as well. It's just through recommendation. I just just use that a lot.
Right, so I'm going to end the live now. So I'm just going to say
Yeah.
thanks for everyone coming and thank you for being interviewed. Sorry about it cut out in the middle, like because the internet dropped. Thank you so much, and I'm going to end the live. So thank you for everyone coming. Obviously, just thank you for coming. It's awkward to end in these, so I'll end it now and then I'll speak to you on. Obviously,
Okay. Thank you for having me.
yeah, you're welcome.
Bye.
Um, bye. Now I'm confused. I don't know how to end it. I'm still live on YouTube and I don't know how to end it because it's
Is it?
that I've done it. Sorry.